Guess who's flying solo tonight, guys? It's your boy. We're going to have some fun tonight. Let's get it. Make sure you listen, you follow, you like, subscribe. Let's go.
Let's go. This ain't the Rock Nike Forces game he stink.
Oh shit!
It's gone.
What's going on, everyone? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio. We're brought to you by Fan Up. Fan Up is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 points, which is a $50 value. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. We hope we're making your commute wherever you're going to, if you're in the shower, whatnot. We hope we're making your listen an entertaining one. I'm going to do my best because I'm flying solo today. There's no Pete, so it's just Chux tonight. It's your boy Chux. Pete is off going to see Spider-Man, just like a bunch of other people. So if you're not listening here, chances are you're listening to Spider-Man. But if you're with me here, thank you for rocking with me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to do an abbreviated show, 1 hour, because there's not much I can say for 2 hours long. As much as I talk, you guys know that I'm still a little bit limited here. But I'm going to interact extra with you guys today, the fam in the chats. So please, definitely give your questions, give your input and whatnot. Our sponsor for the first quarter of the show. If you are looking to buy or sell a home, if you're looking for a change in your career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. He is the sponsor for our first quarter. In the first quarter of the show, we're going to talk about something that's been going on it's been talked about a lot the past week while the Eagles have been on their bye week. And it's gotten a lot of traction, or at least the conversation has, and I wanted to give my 2 cents. That's going to be our poll question of today, which is brought to you by A2D's Rant Booth. They're giving 20% off everything at all campus. So all campus, 20% off everything in their store, including hats, shirts, team cornhole sets to all their subscribers. So make sure you hit them up. They got some great stuff over there. So the poll question, Eagles made the right decision in drafting DeVonta Smith with the 10th overall selection in the 2021 NFL Draft. The reason why I bring this up is because we all know a certain rookie over in Dallas is tearing it up. He's having an amazing rookie year. He's doing a great job for the Cowboys. And we all know it's Micah Parsons. So he's doing a great job. And so there's been a lot of talk on social media, Twitter, Facebook, about, hey, should the Eagles have drafted Micah Parsons instead? And a lot of people still ask and wonder whether Justin Fields should have been the guy at 10 overall. I am going to agree to the poll here, though. DeVonta Smith was the right pick for the Eagles. And you got to look at it in numerous ways. One, the Eagles traded up to get him. All right, they traded from 12 to 10 with the Cowboys. And I have a really hard time believing that the Dallas Cowboys would have traded with the Eagles if they had any inkling that the Eagles would have drafted Micah Parsons. So I think that kind of puts a wrench in that whole argument. But Micah Parsons himself, he's having a phenomenal year. I mean, he looks amazing. He's playing a linebacker for the Cowboys, obviously, but he's also been playing edge rusher, D lineman. He's been doing a lot of great stuff for them, and I will admit he's playing better than I expected. I thought he was a stud. I had a first round grade on him. Let's not be, I don't want to take that out of context, but he's playing even better than I expected him to, and a lot of the reason is because he's a better pass rusher from that edge position than I thought he would be. I didn't see that part of his game, and that's obviously on me for not realizing that was a big part of his game that could be utilized. But the Cowboys deserve credit for seeing that in Parsons and being able to use that to their benefit. We can debate whether Jonathan Gannon would have done the same, if Micah Parsons would be used the same ways in Philly than he is being used in Dallas right now. We don't know the answer to that. We just don't know the answer to that question. But I just believe that the Cowboys are using him to their benefit, and he was the right pick for them. And I do believe he's going to be a great player for such a long time. So this is nothing. This doesn't have to do anything with Parsons, but I do believe that DeVonta Smith was the right pick for us. And I saw someone say it on Twitter, like, "Hey, if we didn't pick DeVonta and we picked Parsons, a good portion of the fan base would be going off and complaining all season, like, oh, Hurts only has Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins to throw to and Greg Ward, and he doesn't have any help at receiver." That would have been the argument. And it would have been a very valid argument. We needed, after the whole Jalen Reagor debacle, we needed a wide receiver one. We had to make sure we hit on that, because also you look at it from the Jalen Hurts angle. Like, Jalen Hurts, we need to find out what we had in Jalen Hurts. This was his year to see what he could do. And you don't want to completely handicap a quarterback like that by not giving him help. Yeah, we have Dallas Goedert, and in the beginning of the year we had Zach Ertz, and we have a pretty good running back room. If you ask me, if everyone's healthy, Sanders, Howard, Scott Gainwell, I like our running back room. I've said that numerous times. So, from tight end and the running back aspect and offensive line, that's fine. But at receiver, you really couldn't go into this year without a legit wide receiver one to help Hurts. So DeVonta Smith had to be our pick. He just had to. He's the guy that I wanted. He's the guy that, from what I understand, mostly everybody in ATD wanted. I think there were some people that did want Parsons over DeVonta, but for the most part, I think we were all happy with DeVonta. So I do believe that he was the right pick, and it's tough to see Parsons do so well for the Cowboys, and I get it, and trust me, it sucks to see, but at the same time, just because DeVonta Smith isn't having rookie of the year type numbers for us, I think we all agree that when we watch him play, we see the immense potential that he has. He is so good, and it's not his fault that we've been kind of handcuffed at the quarterback position for a good amount of the season. Jalen Hurts has had his struggles as a passer. And keep in mind, I'm saying just as a passer. He's had his ups and downs, and mostly they've been downs. So it's not his fault that the passing game has struggled. DeVonta Smith is doing his part. He's been getting open for the most part this whole season. So I do not have any regrets about that pick at all. I don't. I think he was the right pick. So let's get to the chat. We got John Coyle. And so our first comment sponsor is Manscaped. Make sure you get 20% off of Manscaped, guys, and free shipping with the code A2D at manscaped.com. Make sure you unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job. And it's a very important job. So John Coyle here, he says, what's up, Chux? Have to disagree to the poll. Miko was the pick that needed to be made. Smith would be wasted here because we can't get a QB to throw to him. I hear you, John. I hear you. But what if we do get a QB? So what if we do get a QB? And, it's easy to say that now with Hurts, but like I just said a few minutes ago, we needed to be able to give him at least a wide receiver one or a really good wide receiver to help him so that wouldn't be a crutch. Because, if he didn't have a good wide receiver core to throw to, everyone would be saying, oh, you can't really judge him because he had a really bad wide receiver core. So how can you judge him off that? Like, you can't use that as a crutch, and you have to be able to give him that help. But I understand. Like, I know that Parsons was high on a lot of people's list, and I don't blame him for him. I don't blame him for it at all. But I think for us, DeVonta was the pick. Frank says, evening, Chucks. I agree to the poll. I would have loved to have Parsons, but we got our guy, and Dallas got theirs. Exactly. Cryptolicious says, Smith is awesome, makes up for missed wide receiver talent in prior years. And that's another thing. It's a good point because we have such a bad history of drafting wide receivers early. I just talked about Reagor. And, obviously, J-Jaw missing out on DK Metcalf. It's kind of like we had to finally hit on one. It reminds me a lot of, I don't know if you guys remember, I think in the early 2000s, the Lions, with their first round picks, they went on several years where the Lions picked a wide receiver in the first round. And none of those wide receivers were panning out. But then they finally got to Calvin Johnson. And Calvin Johnson was just, you couldn't pass up on him. You couldn't pass up on him. So, they stuck to their guns and they drafted who they felt was the best player and who they felt like they needed. And I'm not saying DeVonta is Calvin Johnson. I'm sure we all hope he develops into that Hall of Fame type of talent. But what I'm just saying is that it's like you get that wrong so often that you kind of had to correct it by getting the guy that was there that was just an obvious choice. And at the same time, on the other side, you can't let that deter you from drafting who you believe is right for your team. Past history of drafts and misses and whatnot can't deter you for who you believe at that pick is the right guy for the team. Moira McCabe says, agreed, just wish we had a guy who could throw to him. Absolutely. Gator Country says Minshew Mania. Crypto says my ankle hurts is an awful passer this year. Glad we have 41 touchdowns to 11 interception passer QB1 Minshew. And guys, I'll get into it in a little bit, but it does look like Minshew might be starting. Oh boy. Yeah, I'll get into that in a second. Let me get through some more of your comments. Pete, my co-host, he says, yo, brother, hey, I hope you enjoy Spider-Man. Please, no spoilers. No spoilers. And he says here in his comments, reporting on location live updates on Spidey No Way Home. I will fight you. I will fight you if you spoil anything. I swear. I swear to God. Don't do it. Don't be a LaShawn McCoy. Cameron Silling says, listen, at the end of the day, you just have to hit on a first-round pick. Missing will set you back for years. So it's a successful pick, in my opinion. That's a good way of looking at it. As long as who you pick turns out to be a good player, then you kind of just have to take it in some ways. So I get that. That's a good point. Cryptolicious says, Mitchell is like Heineken, but better. Lucky to have him now. Hawk 215. Thank you, Howie, for giving us Parsons and Chauncey Golston for DeVonta Smith. I'm guessing he's not an Eagles fan. Mike P says, no more excuses, just win, baby. Gator Country says, Calvin Johnson was great, but still didn't help the Lions win. It didn't help the Lions win, but I'm sure if you ask our resident Lions fan, Don, if he comes on, and if I see him on here, I'll ask him, does he regret the Lions drafting Calvin Johnson? I'd be hard pressed to see a Lions fan regret getting Calvin Johnson. Like, how do you regret how do you regret drafting a Hall of Fame talent? And, it's the whole thing about the Lions not winning. Yeah, it's a team game. So there were more problems than Calvin. But who would you have gotten instead of Calvin Johnson that would have helped you win the Super Bowl? A sort of a quarterback, There was more to it. And they did draft a quarterback later on, years later, a guy named Matt Stafford, who is, I'm not going to say elite quarterback, but he's having a good year with the Rams and showing that he's a good quarterback. And they still couldn't win. Like, there's more to the Lions. They have a history of just wasting great talent. I mean, we all know what they did with, or what they didn't do with Barry Sanders, the greatest running back to ever play the game. They did nothing. They wasted his career, and Barry retired early because the team wasn't winning. So, it's a team game. I can't agree with that, with this whole, Calvin didn't help them win. Calvin did what he could, and that's all you could have asked for him. He was a Hall of Fame talent. He's, personally, to me, he's the fourth greatest wide receiver ever. But, that's my personal ranking. Eddie Sanchez, hey, would you like the Eagles to draft another wide receiver in the first, and who? I wouldn't. Unless if that wide receiver there is the best player available, and it's clear cut. But the reason why I used to say I wouldn't is because I would prefer to get one of the free agent wide receivers. This free agent class amongst wide receivers is going to be a stacked class. There's so many good, great free agent wide receivers coming up, and I would prefer to get one of them. We have the money. Go sign one of those guys. I mean, Chris Godwin tops my list probably, but I would also love a guy like Mike Williams. I would also love Allen Robinson. There's other guys I would like to. I can't remember off the top of my head anyone else, but those three are three of the many that I would love to have. John Coyle says, I don't get the what if game. What if we get a good QB? What if we can't evaluate Hurts? The biggest what if is Micah. If Micah makes any team he went to a top 5D, Smith can't say that for our offense. I get it. And again, the Micah thing, he's looking to be on track. It's really early. He's looking to be on track to be one of the best talents to enter the league in the past decade. So he is an absolute stud. But at the same time, what's to say that DeVonta can't be a stud in his own right? I love DeVonta. I wouldn't have wanted him if I didn't think he had talent to be one of the best, or if not the best wide receiver in the game. John, I don't know what your evaluation of DeVonta is, but I mean, I know there are people that agree with me. Even Tom was really high on Micah Parsons, but even he will come out and say he was happy with the DeVonta pick because he was that high on DeVonta. Like, he would have loved either one of them, but he still feels like DeVonta was the right pick. And again, my point is, I really don't think the Cowboys trade with us if they think we're going to pick Parsons. I don't think that would have been the case. I really don't. Xavier Hope asks Hurts or Minshew. I'll get into that in the second quarter. Mike P says, we have a talented roster. Minshew is the point guard that makes everyone better. Focus on winning. Everyone develops. Gator Country says Minshew is better right now. Xavier Hope, the Eagles aren't winning the Super Bowl. We all know this. I think we should let Hurts develop one more year. And after next season, if he pans out, great. If not, draft Bryce Young. No good QBs in this draft. I agree that there are no good QBs in this draft. I would not draft a QB in this draft. And I wouldn't be opposed to giving Hurts one more year. But I also, if he doesn't play well the rest of the year, and I said this last week, if he doesn't play well the rest of the year, next year, if it's him and Minshew that are still here, I think it should be a legit open QB competition. You got to make one of them win the starting job, in my opinion. But I wouldn't be opposed to giving Hurts one more year to at least fight for that job. Cameron says Minshew's not a good QB, but he is above average game manager who can get an extremely cheap contract because he's better than Baker, Heineke, and Garoppolo, not to mention how marketable he is. He has the most swag and moxie of any QB in the league. Also, he's got a stash. That's a very interesting question. Would I say he's better than those guys? I think he's better than Heineke. I don't know about Baker. I think I would give the edge to Baker, but I could be wrong on that. And it's also close with Garoppolo. I don't know. I'd have to really study them more this offseason to make a definitive saying. But it's very interesting to bring up those names. It's debatable. I'm open to that conversation. I'm not saying you're wrong or that I adamantly disagree. It's interesting, and I think it's closer than I think some people might think. So that's a good name to bring up. Mike P says Jalen will develop better watching a winning team on the field. Ask Aaron Rodgers. Winning culture solves all problems. Cryptolista says, could you please read aloud the bullet points on Hurts' NFL Combine Report criticism? It's funny. Tebow, like, it literally says that. It also depends on who you ask. Remember, there's not one main – there's no main scouting report for a prospect. A lot, it depends on who you ask. I do know a few analysts that were high on Hurts, but if you look at overall all of the evaluations from some trustworthy draft analysts and scouts, all of them would pretty much highlight the fact that Hurts does have some glaring deficiencies as a passer. That's very, very common amongst his evaluations, and I included it in my own evaluation as well. We're gonna go to the second quarter now, guys. So keep the comments coming. Thank you. I want you guys to be part of the show tonight as much as possible because I'm flying solo here. I have no Pete, but we're still gonna have a great show. And the Chargers Chiefs game is kicking off now. This is gonna be a really, really good one. They're about to kick off. I'm excited for this head-to-head matchup. Well, not head-to-head. It's always tough to say that because they're not going head-to-head. They're not facing each other. Neither one of them plays defense, obviously, but I like this division matchup between the Chiefs and the Chargers. We got Mahomes, you got Herbert. This should be an exciting game. A lot of playoff seeding implications. Oh boy, is he going to take it to the house? Oh, he stumbled. I thought he was going to take it. He stumbled. Then like the ones at 25. Was that Roberts? Oh boy. But great field position. Great field position. Oh, that's good. Such a good return. All right, guys. So second quarter of the show now. It's brought to you by Body Check Wellness. Sorry, I had to catch my breath. Body Check Wellness is a line of products that promote wellness, balance, and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and typical topicals. Use promo code A2D for 25% off your order at bodycheckwellness.com. If you want to keep commenting on the poll question, whether or not you think the Eagles were right to draft DeVonta Smith or if they should have gone with Micah Parsons, by all means, keep those comments coming, guys. I will read off of them as we go along. But let's get to our second topic of the night. And I want to preview Eagles and Washington, this game. Now, we had to start this off by saying that, man, the Washington football team kind of almost feel bad because they've got what? Now it's up to 21 players that are on the COVID list, including their QB, the top two QBs. So that's both Heineke and I forget who the second quarterback. I forget who the backup quarterback is, but they might be playing their third string quarterback. They're out. Ioannidis in the middle. They are obviously already without Chase Young on the outside. I think they're out. Their safeties, like they have a bunch of people. I need to look up the list if I'm able to, but they're going to be out a bunch of people. So obviously, advantage Eagles in that regard. I don't know who is going to definitely play or not for Washington. So I'm going to give a breakdown. I'm just going to say schematically what they do and the matchups that I am looking at overall, just without including who's going to miss due to COVID. But let's what side do you want to start off? Let's start off with the Eagles' offense against the Washington defense. So Washington's defense, they were playing a lot of man earlier in the year, and they switched it up. I think around the time they played the Bucks, and they switched it up and started playing a lot of zone. So you got their outside corners. They play zone, and then they've got their safeties. They rotate three safeties. And so I'm not good with names, so I keep forgetting their names. But their coverage on the back end is pretty good. Like in terms of their schematic wise. Oh boy, Mike Williams is down. No, I have Mike Williams in one of my fantasy leagues. Oh, damn! Please get up, Mike Williams. I hope he's okay. But anyways, yeah. Schematically, their secondary does a pretty good job, and they've been doing a good job the past several weeks. Obviously, when you play zone, there's going to be open spots and holes to attack, and I think that the Eagles are going to be able to attack those. I think Sirianni's going to do a good job scheming up the passing game and having certain route concepts to attack those schemes, especially if the corners are out and the safeties are out. He's going to really have a good game plan together, I believe, especially with 2 weeks off or 2 weeks to prepare. So I think that you could see the Eagles come out passing. And I know if Hurts is starting, that's a bad thing. But if Minshew is starting, I think could be good, because I think he's going to do a good job of diagnosing those coverages and finding the open man. So I think we are going to attack them. They do a lot of stuff with their fronts. Now, again, people might be out for Washington, so we don't know how much this is going to change. But normally what they like to do is they like to play a lot of five-man fronts, so it's going to be hard when it comes to our running game. Our running game, we like to get our linemen moving. We have athletic linemen, as we all know, especially Jason Kelsey, obviously. We like to get them in the second level. So when you have a five-man front on defense, that makes it a little harder to work your way up to that second level. So that's something to watch out for. And for that reason, that's why I think we're going to come out passing a lot. I'm not saying we're going to abandon the run, and we shouldn't abandon the run, but I think you should be able to see, especially if Minshew plays, a pretty decent passing attack or passing game plan schematic wise. So watch out for that. I think you're going to see a lot of two-man route concepts to one side, and you're going to see a lot of mesh concepts. Obviously, we always see mesh concepts. So that's how it is on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles against Washington defense. I think you're going to get a pretty good game from DeVonta. Again, both corners are out, so you should. So passing wise, I think we have a good game. Now, to flip it on the other side, Eagles defense against Washington. Washington doesn't really have much. Like, to me, obviously, you've got a really, really big question mark at quarterback. Jake says, I sent you the whole Washington COVID list on WhatsApp. Oh, cool. You're clutch, Jake. Thank you. Let's see here. So let's go off this, guys. So we got Jonathan Allen at inside defensive line. We got Matt Ioannidis. So both of them, both on the interior, out or could be out. Montez Sweat on the outside, on the edge, out. Kendall Fuller, their one starting corner, out. Kyle Allen, that's who it is. The backup group is Kyle Allen, so he'll be out. Cam Sims is one of their depth pieces at wide receiver. Tim Settle, there's a backup, Casey Tuo, backup, a former Eagle. James Smith William Bradley King, those are another defensive lineman. Cam Curl is the one safety. So I think he's on the back end. Oh, did Chargers score? Oh, he dropped it. Parham dropped that? Wow. You got to come down with that, bro. You got to come down with that. You have to. And he's hurt now too? What the heck? Damn. All right. So anyways, Cam Curl, him being out is going to be big. Troy Apke, Derek Forrest, the safety, center Keith Ishmael. Hey, I remember Keith Ishmael, undersized center. out of the draft. Tyler Larson, David Mayo, linebacker. Linebacker Milo Eifler, linebacker Kaliki Hudson, offensive tackle Cornelius Lucas. Oh, that's one of their offensive tackles. It's another starter. Tight end Simon Ramus and tight end Tamarick Hemingway. It's a lot of people, 21 people, and some significant starters on that end. So they're going to be shorthanded. But on the offensive side for Washington, obviously it comes down to two guys that you got to look out for. Two guys you really got to look out for. It's going to start with Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin is the best player on the team. I love Terry McLaurin. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver. So I don't know what Gan's going to do, obviously. But if you ask me, I think this is one of those games where Darius Slay has to shadow Terry McLaurin. Take him out of the game. He's way too good. Slay has had pretty good history with him, too, when he's shadowed him. So take him out of the game, shadow Terry McLaurin. The other guy you got to look out for, obviously, is Antonio Gibson. I think Antonio Gibson, he had a little bit of a questionable beginning of the year, but he's come on lately. I like Antonio Gibson. I think he's a young running back who is still learning the position, but already has shown pretty good development. So I like Antonio Gibson. You got to stop him because he has some really good contact balance too. He moves like a smaller finesse back. He's got burst, acceleration, good movement skills, but he's like 6'2", 220. Like in terms of his running style, he reminded me a lot of Cordero Patterson. That's who I comped him to in the draft 2 years ago. Running style and build, like they're both 6'1", 6'2", and they're way at 220 plus. So they were very similar in terms of running style to me. So, oh wow, Parham is out. Wow, I hope he's okay. That's why he dropped it, I guess. My bad. I didn't realize it. Okay, he's moving his hand, so that's good. Yeah, that's a scary sight. That is a scary sight. Hopefully he's okay. He brought the stretcher and everything too. Yeah, hopefully he's okay. But yeah, I think that those are the two guys you got to really worry about. You cannot I don't care who you have a quarterback, you cannot let them go off and get into a rhythm by having them throw to Terry McLaurin and have Terry McLaurin take over. You can't let that happen. That's why I say personally I would have Darius Slay shadow him. That's what I would do. All right. So that's what we got on that end. If there's anything like, oh yeah, we talked about it. I think Minshew is going to start. If you were to tell me right now, because Jalen Hurts is still listed as questionable, and I was reading some stuff on social media, on Twitter, some updates on camp. I think John McClain and some other guys, they were saying how Jalen Hurts was moving gingerly on that ankle. He wasn't really like running hard on it at practice today. And with it being Thursday already, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. You really got to make sure that if this coaching staff really wants Hurts to be their starter the rest of the year, you got to protect him at least. And so don't force him out there if he's not 100%. Especially for a guy whose strength and to his game is his running ability. He's got to be able to run. If he can't run on that at near 100%, then he might do more damage to this offense than benefit it. So if he's not moving around well on that ankle, and there were reports that it was a high ankle sprain, which could take 3-4 weeks to heal, just sit him. Just sit him. I don't want to get overconfident again, but with Washington and everyone on the COVID list, this is a more than winnable game with Gardner Minshew. More than winnable. We should absolutely win this with Gardner Minshew. And that goes to my next point. If the Eagles don't win this game, I think it could end up being worse than Joe Webb. The Joe Webb game. And if you don't remember, Joe Webb 2010, I think we just came off of the win against the Giants, the Miracle Meadowlands 3. And we had Mike Vick at quarterback. We were riding high. We were going to win the division, going to the playoffs on the hot streak, and then Joe Webb. We lose to Joe Webb on a Tuesday. if the Eagles don't win this could be worse than Joe Webb. This game could be one of the worst losses in team history. So you really can't overlook them. But again, Minshew is more than good enough to win this game. So if Hurts is not 100%, you've got to go with Minshew. I think that's if you were to make me pick or make me predict who's going to start on Sunday, I think it's Minshew. I think Minshew gets the call. Let me know if you agree. Do you think Minshew? Do you think Hurts is going to start? I don't know. We'll see. But let me know what you think in the chat. We're going to move on to the second half of the show now. We're flying along here, guys. Flying through this. We're halfway through the show now. Tom, by the way. Tom says he agrees with the poll, and you know why. Exactly. What I was saying. I know, Tom. And like I said earlier, Tom, you were high on Parsons too. So that's saying a lot. It's not like you were someone who didn't want Parsons. You were high on Parsons. So the fact that you say that you agree with the poll that DeVonta Smith was the right choice, it's saying a lot. But let's get to the second half of the show. Let's go to the third quarter. The third quarter, guys, is brought to you by our doc, Paul Fidel, of Specialized Physical Therapy LLC. They've got 2 locations, Burlington and Cherry Hill. Make them yours. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Let's go around the league. And I've got a lot to talk about here, so this might go a little bit longer than the other sections, but I do want to talk about a good amount. So let's dive in first the news from technically late last night. I saw it right before I went to sleep, but I obviously just started talking about it this morning. Urban Meyer's out in Jacksonville. Gone. Fired. And you know what? It wasn't soon enough. Should have been fired weeks ago. The guy was horrible. All the reports that came out about how he treated his coaches, calling them losers, disrespectful to the players, getting into repeated arguments with key players, core members of that roster, kicking your kicker. I think it was Josh Lambo. He kicked him. I mean, Urban Meyer is not an NFL head coach. I think I've agreed with one thing he's done since he's come into, been named coach, and that's give Travis Etienne reps a wide receiver. I agreed with that. Everything else I disagreed with. He doesn't have the leadership skills to be a coach at the NFL level. He thinks it's college still. He doesn't know how to run an NFL team. So he needed to go. I don't see how Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags, could have gone into next season with Urban Meyer as the coach. The roster hates him. The coaches don't want to coach for him. He had to be fired. So this was a great move. This was the right move. It was the only move for Shad Khan to make. So now, who is going to be the Jags head coach next year? We've got some good names that have been popped up, but the 2 leading guys that I would throw my hat in, do I want to see not only develop Trevor Lawrence, but establish a good culture there, a winning culture in Jacksonville. I think Byron Leftwich is an obvious candidate. The offensive coordinator for the Bucs. He won't have to go far. He has history with the team, obviously. Although you could argue that could be a detriment, but I think it would be a good thing for the Bucs. For the Jags. I'm sorry, and I think he deserves a shot. I think he's doing a great job in Tampa Bay for several seasons now. So I like him as one candidate, and obviously the name that keeps getting thrown out is Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson as a head coaching candidate, I think would be a really good name for Jacksonville. Talk about a guy who obviously knows how to win, but knows how to have a culture. He's a player's coach. The players love him. So you got to get someone who will have the players playing for him, and that's Doug P to a T. And did I want Doug out of here? I thought it was I thought it was time for him to go because of how big of a mess it was in Philly. I thought it was just he just wasn't the right person anymore. But at the same time, he wasn't the only person that deserved blame for what happened in Philly. And I never ever stopped believing in him as a coach. I felt like it was time to go. Similar to how it was with Andy, but with Andy was like he was over 12 years. So obviously it was a more prolonged period of time. But with Doug, I just felt like it was such a mess and it wasn't he wasn't going to be able to win anymore here. So it was time for him to go. But I think he would be great in Jacksonville. I hope he gets a job, him or Leftwich. I think that'd be great. You got to get someone who's going to develop Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence he's the franchise. You have to do everything you can to build around him and to make sure he's successful. Because if you don't, that pick is a failure. You have to make sure he succeeds. So that's that's how I see the situation in Jacksonville. They're not a lost cause. I think they have the draft picks this year still. They still have a first round pick. And they have some talent on their team. Like Travis Etienne is coming back. You put him with James Robinson, you have one of the better running back duos in the league. You have some wide receiver. Like you got to get DJ Chark back and healthy, obviously. You have some good deep pieces on defense. One name that stood out is Andre Cisco. I loved Andre Cisco this past draft. He's a safety that I think very highly of. They've got some pieces. They just need a coach and a winning culture to put it all together. So that's what it is with Jacksonville. Gator Country says Mahomes walks like a girl. He does walk weird. I won't say like a girl. He has this really, really weird way of walking where like his arms are like I don't even know. You can't like he's like he walks like this and his head's off to the side and it's like tilts. It's a weird thing. But hey, when you're that good at quarterback, you can walk however one you want. Cryptolicious says Trevor Lawrence just called me. He said he was in Philly. We wish he was here too. Trust me, we wish he was here too. The Chiefs are marching down the field. It looks like they're about to. Oh, I don't know where the pass is going. Anyway, so what other games I want to get to? I want to get to the Cardinals Rams game. So Cardinals Rams. That turned out to be a very surprising game. The Cardinals, I thought, really bit themselves they really shot themselves on the foot with numerous turnovers. I thought they could have beaten the Rams. They had that game, but they just too many mistakes. I still think the Cardinals are one of the better teams in NFC in the whole NFL, I should say. I think that they can beat anyone, but at the same time, their youth, as it showed in that game, could pop up in the playoffs where they make critical mistakes. And that's the downside of having a team that young is you just don't have that experience. You don't know how to win yet. Yeah, Zach Ertz is there. You've got other players there, but you've got to make sure you don't those naive mistakes and inexperience doesn't rear its head come playoff time. But hopefully it doesn't. And now they're going to be without. God, I got congested all of a sudden. So if you hear me a little bit congested, I apologize. Touchdown Chiefs, their fullback. Their fullback scored. Michael Burton. Is he related to Trey Burton? Kidding. I don't think he is. But sorry, congested. Anyway, I think that the Cardinals are still good, but you've got to watch out for their inexperience. On the other side, the Rams, they're starting to put it together a little bit. Sean McVay starting to change things up offensively, especially with their offensive line, going to more heavy sets with the run game, which is benefiting. And can we say that OBJ again was 3 straight games with a touchdown or something like that? He is showing what we've been saying here. P and I have been saying. He's still a stud. He's still super talented. You can tell. And he wasn't the problem in Cleveland. He wasn't the problem in Cleveland. He can still play. Is he an elite wide receiver, like a top 5 guy? I don't know if I'd say that, but he's absolutely still a really good wide receiver. A really good wide receiver. And the fact that people thought he was a problem, he was running the wrong routes in Cleveland, and he's a distraction. No, he wasn't the problem. He wasn't the problem. And he's going to continue to ball out. Now, is OBJ alone enough of an addition for the Rams to win it all? I don't think so. But I do think they can win a game or two in the playoffs. I think they're that talented. I think McVay's still a good coach. I think he's overrated, but I think he's still a good coach. So I think they're talented enough to win a game or two in the playoffs. Let's get to 49ers Bengals. Another wild game. 49ers gave up the lead, but then won it in overtime thanks to a really, really nice play by Ayuk. And that leads me to Ayuk. We were talking, Pete and I were talking about Ayuk with some of the people in the chat, some of you guys a few weeks ago. And some of you had told me that, you don't think Ayuk is good. And I said, just wait. He had a really bad beginning of the year, but he's going to come on. And he has. If you look at Ayuk play, he's starting to come on. He's starting to play really, really well. And I was high on Ayuk. And that's what's really funny is the fact that, I get a lot of heat for the Jalen Reagor pick because I was excited for it. I liked it at the time. But people don't realize that say hi to my wife. As you can see here.
Sorry.
Hi to my wife. People don't realize that I was also high on Brandon Ayuk. I was also high on Michael Pittman, who's doing a really good job. There were numerous players like Deontay Johnson. I liked a lot too, and he's tearing it up in Pittsburgh. There were a lot of wide receivers. That whole wide receiver class, there were a lot of good names, and I liked a lot of them. But people focus on Jalen Reagor. And it's ironic because the one guy that the Eagles got, the guy that I got excited about the Eagles taking, he seems to be one of the only ones that turns out to be bad. Figures, right? But yeah, Brandon Ayuk, if you were patient enough to wait and trust me on him, when I said that all he needed was time, he would show out, then you are probably reaping the benefits in fantasy right now because he's doing really well, and he should only keep getting better and better and better. So I'm trying to think if there's any other games I want to highlight. I'm still trying to catch up. I didn't watch all the games. Let me go through them now, actually. And then maybe we'll do some previews. I'll give some previews and picks for this upcoming week on who I think is going to win. Let's see. So, week 14. Dallas almost gave up that lead, guys. Did you see that against Washington? They almost gave up that lead. That was really surprising. It came down to the end, but they did sneak it out. Dak Prescott, you know what? He's got to get it together because they ain't winning anything if he plays the way he's been playing. That defense is playing well, and maybe Dak is just trying to get back into a groove after having so many of his weapons out for such a long period of time. So maybe that's the case, but I don't know. Maybe it's December because we all know how the Cowboys get in December. They always find a way to collapse and to choke when it comes to December and January. So maybe it's happening again, but we'll see. I just, speaking objectively, Dak Prescott has to find his game. He can't. They're not going to win anything if he keeps playing like this. They're not. They're just not. The Raiders and Chiefs. The Raiders are dumb. The minute they went out on that logo and they celebrated and taunted on that logo, you knew the Chiefs were going to blow them out, and they did. Dumb. You're just dumb. You don't do that, especially when you haven't had the Chiefs. You've over the past several years you haven't had the Chiefs number, and you're going to go out and do that, try to make a statement. Stop it. That was dumb. They're just dumb for doing that. Let's see. Giants Chargers. I mean, the Chargers who are playing now. They pretty much dominated the Giants. There's nothing else to say about that. Giants, they're a mess. I read somewhere or heard somewhere that with the Giants, they are considering keeping Joe Judge. And you know what I say to that? By all means, keep Joe Judge. I'm not a believer in Joe Judge, but hey, if the Giants want to keep him as their head coach for longer, I'm not going to complain. I'm not. The last game I want to get to for Week 14, the Bucs and Bills. The Bucs and Bills. That was a really good game too. And hats off to Josh Allen, because again, me and Pete talk about all the time. Man, that Bills offense, it's Josh Allen. Ooh, interception. Interception off of deflection. Jeez. That whole offense revolves around Josh Allen and being able to rely on just what Josh Allen does. They have no running game. Their offensive line can't pass protect. Like they don't. I said it last week. This is a perfect example of why running backs matter. Like, you have decent players in Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Matt Breida. They're decent, but they're nothing special. They're not good. And you see they can't run the ball. And if they can't run the ball, it's not going to help. It doesn't help Josh Allen at all. They can't run the ball. I think it was like midway through the third quarter when they finally gave a running back a carry. That's horrific. So don't tell me running backs don't matter. You need to find good talent at your running back position. You can't skate by with just mediocre talent. We've seen it in Philly back in 2008 or 2018. Do you remember Wendell Smallwood and Josh Adams as our lead running backs? That was horrific. You need good running backs. You need great running backs. You just do. You need good players, period, at any position. So I never want to hear that running backs don't matter. And when it comes to the Bucs, and Tom Brady threw, of course, Tom Brady would throw his 700th touchdown pass on an overtime winner. Crazy. That's crazy. I think they are who we all know who they are. It's going to be interesting to come to playoff time, because I think their Achilles heel right now is their secondary and their pass defense. So we'll see if they can get over, if that doesn't hold them back too much. All right, so coming up on the fourth quarter of the show, the last section, and the last part of the show, it's brought to you by the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. Many of us and our families deal with mental health and addiction issues. We are happy to support them. If you need mental health therapy or addiction detox, please call 856-651-8117. Tell them that Tom and A2D sent you. All right, so to finish off the show, let's talk about Eagles playoff hopes. Do I think that... Oh, wait, Greg comments here real quick. Greg, I agree to the poll. There are a few no-brainer selections, and he was one of them. Not going to overthink anything with Smith. Exactly. You can't overthink it. Do I think the Eagles are going to make the playoffs? It's going to be tough. We essentially... We control our own destiny in the fact that if we win out, we make the playoffs, I believe. And so if we win all these remaining games, 4 games, I think the Eagles are in. Do I think that's possible? Absolutely. I mean, Giants, Washington, I think is definitely winnable. I do think we win all 3 of those games. The wild card, no pun intended, the wild card is that final week against the Cowboys. So I do not think we can beat a Cowboys team at full strength. I don't think we do. I think we can put up a fight, but I don't think we can I think they're too talented. However, if it's a thing where the Cowboys have their seeding locked up and they sit their starters, then absolutely we can beat them. Absolutely. I think we do beat them if they're sitting their starters. So that's what's up in the air. That's what I don't know. I think there's a good chance the Eagles make the playoffs. I'd say about a 60% chance, and that's not going off of analytics. I know analytics have their own formula to give, but like just off gut feeling that I have, I'd say about a 60% chance of making the playoffs. What do I think they have to do? Obviously, they have to stay healthy. That goes without saying. They have to stay healthy. I think they have to keep running the ball. They don't have to be like I'm not saying run the ball to a point where you ignore your passing game, because obviously you have to pass the ball at some point. But I think whether it be with Hurts or Minshew, doesn't matter which one, they have to be dominant in the running game. And as long as Sanders stays healthy, if Howard comes back and stays healthy, and Howard should be back this week, if those two mainly can stay healthy and give what they could give in the running game, I think the running game is going to be really, really good down the stretch. I think the running game is going to be awesome, dominant, best running attack in the league if healthy. We've seen that. We've seen our rushing attack run all over anyone. So the O-line stays healthy and everything, I think we'll be just fine. I think that's the key. I think that's the key to the playoff hopes. You got to be able to run the ball dominantly when you have to, and then pass the ball. I think that's if we can struggle a little bit with passing the ball if we're running the ball dominantly is my point. All right, so let's get into No Huddle. Let's finish this off. Like I said at the top of the show, Pete's watching Spider-Man No Way Home right now. We've got a lot of people watching Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm at home not watching Spider-Man. My wife and I are watching it on Tuesday. So I got to wait until Tuesday. We'll be gone. We'll be away this weekend. We have a family Christmas trip. I'm so congested. I don't know if you can hear me. I am so congested right now. I got to get like some type of humidifier. I don't know where it came from. I haven't been congested, but for some reason I'm talking here and I get congested. It's weird. But we see it on Tuesday. Make sure, guys, one, don't spoil anything. That should go without saying, but we got the LaShawn McCoys of the world who are assholes that want to spoil crap. So don't spoil anything. Two, if you haven't seen the post-credit scene to the movie Venom Let There Be Carnage, just watch that scene. The movie itself is horrible. I saw it a few weeks ago. The movie itself is horrible, but don't worry about watching it. Just watch the post-credit scene. You can find it on YouTube. Watch the post-credit scene before you go see Spider-Man. I'm really excited. But don't forget, not only is Spider-Man out tonight, which you have to go watch, but The Matrix Resurrections comes out on Wednesday. Catch that. I'm so excited. I got Spider-Man on Tuesday, and I got The Matrix on Wednesday. Also, The Witcher, new season of The Witcher comes out Friday. And we just saw Hawkeye. Episode 5 of Hawkeye was really good. There was a little Easter egg at the end. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. It doesn't spoil anything for No Way Home. At least I don't think it does. But it's really good. And I will also say this before I head out. Yelena is skyrocketing up my rankings in terms of favorite MCU characters. She's so good. Like she's so funny. Such a great character. Like hilarious. Like the one scene she had in this past episode, like I was dying laughing. She's hilarious. Florence Pugh does a really outstanding job playing Yelena. Already one of my favorite characters. So I'm glad that she's in this series and she has a future with in the MCU. Really excited about that character. Daly says, agree to the poll. I think he was the right move. Now I need a guy to actually throw it. Absolutely. And he says, I'm excited for Spider-Man. Hawkeye has been really, really good. I like Hawkeye also. All right, guys. Reached the 1 hour mark. I have to go pack for my weekend trip. Daly says, Elena is my favorite. I fell in love with her in Black Widow. She's hilarious. She's awesome. She was that movie. Like the Black Widow movie was about Yelena. It wasn't about Natasha. It's about Yelena. She's awesome. But yeah. All right, guys. I have to go pack. I also have to watch the rest of this Chargers Chiefs game, which is so far, pretty good. Hopefully, it's a great game. Make sure you go watch Spider-Man. Get your tickets if you haven't already. Pretty sure it's hard to get them for this weekend, but there's also next week. Make sure you go grab them. What else? Enjoy the game. I don't think it's going to be postponed. There's been a lot of talk about, hey, they're going to postpone it. The league, the game would have to logistically not be playable for the league to move that game. They're not going to move that game unless they physically cannot play the game. So as long as Washington can put up the players to play, they're going to play the game. So enjoy it. Hopefully it's an Eagles win. Hopefully Pete will be back here next week to talk to you guys about it. I will be out next week. I got a lot going on. Obviously with the week of Christmas. The 23rd on Thursday is my wife's birthday. So give her a shout out. Happy birthday. And I got plans with her and the family. So I'll be out next week. I will see you in 2 weeks. We'll be back here before the year ends for another Birds of a Feather. Thank you to everyone who stayed in here and listened to me ramble on for an hour with my nasally voice about football and sports and nonsense. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone over at our sponsors, all of our sponsors that we have going on. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you, fam, for being here with us. We love you. God bless. Stay safe and fly, Eagles, fly. Later, guys.